Would you be able to share with us how your own thought has progressed since those early days?
My views have changed as I've spent the time. It's nearly 16, 17 years working in this issue now. My views have changed. I came into the issue believing that society needed to set a bar, and that bar should be very strict, and you had to be terminally ill and then maybe under very strict conditions. And in fact, in the Northern Territory law, you just about had to be dead to qualify. You had to be that sick before you were eligible to use the law, which would then allow you to die. I've met so many people coming along since those time in the subsequent years who have come with different reasons for wanting to die. Not all of them medical. They want to die. And I have great difficulty in coming along and imposing my worldview on them. These are people that have come to the very rational decision that they've now reached a point in time where they wish to die. It's not my view, but I don't really feel comfortable with the idea of saying to them, look, because that's not my view, I'm going to exercise my right to prevent you taking that course. I know what will happen if I do. They'll go off and do something else, but I believe that they are seeking from me, by and large, is information about how to die.
So would you say, therefore, that your thinking has shifted from the initial question of alleviation of suffering of the terminally ill to really now a question of how can we respect the autonomy and freedom of the individual?
That sums it up.
To choose.
That's right.
Okay. To what extent has that progress in your thinking been reflective of the experience in a country such as Holland, where these laws have been in place?
I think that it happens in countries which have exposure to this issue, so that when the community in a nation like Holland watches what's happening, they have their own views, and those views evolve. And in some ways, the laws that come out of that country reflect that evolution in thinking within the nation. And I think that's a healthy sign myself. If the Dutch didn't like the way things are going, they could change it, but they haven't. They've allowed, in some ways, what I'm sure will be described as a slippery slope. But there has been an evolution, there's been a change, some would say a loosening of the criteria that were initially established in Holland in 2001, whereby the person doesn't have to be terminally ill, they can be a person who's got chronic suffering. The person doesn't have to be 21, they can be at a younger age, and that reflects the fact that, of course, you don't have to be 21 to be terminally ill. So there are a loosening of those conditions, partly because it was seen as being unnecessarily restrictive, in some ways quite unjust and unfair.
And in your own personal case, the issue of Professor Niggott.
Yeah, I've loosened my conditions completely. Now if a person comes to me and is of sound mind and an adult and says they want to die, I would find it very difficult not to give them the information they would need for a peaceful death.
So therefore, would it be fair to say in your thinking that euthanasia is as much about escaping life as it is escaping death and dying?
Escaping life and escaping death. Well, I suppose euthanasia is about, to my mind, is about providing people with the opportunity of having their views respected and not having the door slammed in their face because we don't agree with that person's decision.